Hello there. Hello. Welcome everybody and welcome to our Peaks Challenge Women's Community Information Session. My name's Fiona Newith and I am the Client and Program Manager at Bicycle Network. I am joined tonight with our Event Manager, Carlia Dix.
Hello everyone.
And we also have our leaders. We have Michelle Hyde, Alison McCormack and Kate Penglass. Absolutely brilliant to have you all part of our information session tonight. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this and sharing with you all our key insights into the famous Peaks Challenge. To let you know, tonight it is an hour session, so we'll be wrapping up at 6 o'clock. And tonight we'll be covering things like the route, so our 235 kilometre ride option, but also our new ride option that's being introduced for the first time this year, the 100 kilometre ride option. We'll be talking about how our Bicycle Network supports females with getting them out on the bike and how we do that with supporting with women with getting them to ride in the event. I will also be going through our training, our key insights there, our tips, and also talking about the actual on-event experience of riding in Peaks. So we do ask that throughout the session, please ask as many questions as you like. There is a chat function on your screen, so use that chat function and type away, and we'll also leave some time towards the end of the presentation for you to ask any other outstanding questions as well. And the other thing, before I do hand it over to the event manager, Carlia Dix, is that we do have a poll. So I'm just going to start this poll. And if you can just see that come up, if you can type in there what ride option you are considering doing or you are going to be doing, if it's the 100 kilometre, the 235 kilometre or not sure, if you could just take part in that poll, that would be great. And then that will give us an idea on who's looking at doing what. So that should have come up for you. So while you're doing that, I will hand it on over to Carlia. That will be going through the actual route of options of the event.
All right, thanks, Fee. If you want to just scoot ahead. First up, I'll talk about the 235Ks, which is the original ride that we've done for over 10 years now. I believe we're on to year 12. This is an absolute amazing ride, beautiful scenery, it's challenging, it's got it all, and I think you'd absolutely love it if you're going to tackle this one. I won't go into absolute details, but the three main things that you're all raring to get stuck into are obviously the climbs. So starting up at Falls Creek, we make the descent down, and first climb we tackle is Tawonga Gap. So it's 7.5 kilometres of climbing till you reach the summit. The elevation's just over 400 metres with an average gradient of 6%. It's I wouldn't say a warm-up climb. It definitely is a challenge in itself. It's got some pretty steep gradients throughout, but it is a good one to start off the day before you get stuck into the other ones. As we're making our way around, we pass through Harrietville and then we tackle the next climb, which is Mount Hotham. What I will say about Mount Hotham is that it is definitely a marathon, not a sprint with this one. So we do have a very mix of elevations. There is a little bit of descending here and there just to give you a little bit of fun while you're making your way up. And also you are looking at some really different elevations. We've got our steepest part there when you're heading up the Meg, but it is a long climb at 29.9 kilometres. So this one is definitely the marathon as you're making way around. After you tackle Mount Hotham, you do have a fair ride where you pass through, stop at Dinner Plain where we have lunch, through Omeo, a bit of flat after Omeo until you reach the notorious back of Falls Creek at WTF Corner, which some say is very appropriately named. The first 7 Ks of this average about 10%, so it is a very challenging start, but this is why we love Peaks. This is the challenge and makes it exciting. After this, there is a bit more climbing, so we're doing about 22.6, but after that first bit, it does kind of ease up a little bit. I won't say it's easy, it definitely still is a challenge, but you're past that 10% there. There is a rest stop on the way up there, Trapyard Gap. We do have a nice cold can of Coke for you. I always say every year this is the best can of Coke you will ever drink in your whole entire life. And after you have that can of Coke, you know you're in the home stretch all on the way to Falls Creek. Crossing that finish line, there is no feeling like it. So as I said, that home stretch is just going to be the best riding that you'll ever do in your life. I thought I'd go into what we actually provide out on the road to support you guys when you're out there. First of all, as I said, rest and lunch stops. We have 7 rests and 1 lunch stop spread out throughout the ride. We make sure they're well distanced out, so you're getting a break when you need a break. At those rest areas, we have hydration and nutrition. So we do provide out on the road hydration. We've used SIS in the past to make sure you've got plenty of juice to get you through the day. We are also sponsored by Winners, so we provide Winners bars, gels, and chews out there spread about. And we also have lunch at the lunch stop, and we provide some snacks here and there to make sure you do have that fuel to get you through to that finish line. Valet. This is a service we provide. We have a valet at Harrietville at the lunch site, and then again at Anglers Rest. This gives you an opportunity to send out any extra things you think you might need. So if you want to have a banana when you reach Anglers Rest, or if you want to have another can of Coke, you can pack them in there. Anything that you would require to help you get through, spare tubes, anything like that. We provide timing out there, so we time all of your climbs in the overall ride. We do have a queen of peaks, so if you are a bit of a speedster on the bike and think you can get up those climbs the fastest, you do get a bit of a cash reward for that, but obviously always riding within your limits. It's an achievement in itself just to finish. Mechanical support, so we have mechanics roaming through the entire route and also at the lunch site. So if you do need a hand or something doesn't go quite right, we'll make sure we get you fixed up so you can carry on. First aid, once again, this is roaming in at the rest areas to make sure we look after yourself. And we also have a few different conditions out on the road. So all the climbs are fully closed, so you should have them to yourself. Road rules do apply at all times out on the road though. And there are some roads that are open, but we do different change conditions such as speed reductions. So we've got plenty of things out there to make sure you have a good day on the bike. So that's the 235K, the original. It's probably, I've worked at Bicycle Network for a while. I've done a lot of different rides, but this one is definitely the most spectacular. You'll absolutely love it. But next year, we have introduced something new. So we haven't done this before. We're really excited about it. But one thing that we've noticed is a lot of people might not be able to get the training they wanted to get in this year, particularly the poor people that are in Melbourne. I know you guys have been limited to an hour on the bike or 2 hours now. And it's a perfect stepping stone. If you're not as 100% confident to tackle the 235, give the 100K a go this year, see how you go. And as I said, perfect stepping stone to get up. There is only one timed climb on this one, and that is the back of Falls. So we start at Falls and we go in reverse. We head down to Anglers Rest where we stop, have a break, turn around and make our way back up to Falls. So as I said again, we've thrown the most notorious climb in there in the back of Falls. A nice high elevation for you to start with, but I'm sure you will absolutely smash it, and I've made sure we provide that nice can of Coke for Trapyard Gap there. As I touched on before, we make sure just also for those 100 guys doing the 100Ks, we've got all the on-road support that the 235K riders will get. So you've got road closures. We'll make sure we've got a bit of a feed for you at Anglers Rest. You can have a valet down to Anglers Rest. The SAG wagons will be out there. Everything will be functioning to make sure that you guys have the best day out on the road. As I said, we're very excited to get the 100K up and running, and it's definitely a new addition that I think will be very much welcomed, and we're excited. So that's all for me. I will pass it over to Ali. You're up next.
Oh, hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Talia. That's great. A great I recall every bit of the course as you speak to it. And I mean, the one bit that's a real stand up for me from a scenery point of view, and it's actually hard to get to unless you do Peaks Challenge, is the section from Omeo to Anglers Rest. And it's just beautiful out the back there. And I was just reliving it as you were speaking. So thanks so much. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Alison McCormack, or Ali Mac, and I've had a long, love affair and participation with Peaks Challenge. This will be my 10th year in a row of doing the challenge. And I guess the one thing that we've seen, and the one reason why we're all here, I guess, is a change in the participation of women, and just the, I guess, we don't like to use the word barrier so much, but just the participation of women in general. I think when I first did the event now, which is 9 years ago, or 9.5, I was really only one of a few women who crossed the line that year. And I think Bicycle Network were fantastic. And even from that day to say, look, we need to get more women involved. And, I've been involved ever since then. And we created a team, Bicycle Network team, and the team was aimed at getting people, to participate, more riders to participate, and to help people achieve their goal, whatever it is, to either to get a really fast time or to simply, do the challenge and get through, which is what the majority of us are all doing at the end of the day. And over that time, the team's progressed, and we've got more women involved in particular. And another fantastic result is that women's participation has also increased over that time. So last year we had 10% of women entries, 10% of women participate and complete PICS challenge. Oops, sorry, my earplugs just fell out. Sorry. And this year, what we're going to do is target 15%. We really feel that this is achievable, and we just really want to be here to support particularly women who are interested in taking on the challenge to do that. Over the years, I've found that often there's always been someone else there on the sideline who might want to actually take the challenge, but it is a tough commitment, and it's something that's hard to enter. I find that, women often want to know that they can do it before they sign up, whereas males, on the other hand, just might sign up on a whim. But and that's why we're here, and we've got an awesome team. 3 members are here today. We've got Shell and Kate here, and who've been involved in a number of years too, and we're here to help. And there's also a women's community that's part of the assistance that Bicycle Network has set up. One of Bicycle Network's goals is towards 50-50, and that's 50-50 participation across women and men, and we truly are passionate about that as well. So what we, I guess, provide, and this kind of COVID world has shifted things a little, but we have nights. So say like this, we would have a night, and this is a great opportunity with Zoom, or we'd have it in the Bicycle Network head office with some wine and cheese, which hopefully we might host soon. Trading rides. Shell set up an awesome Zwift group. I hope that some of you guys have participated in that. All the details, by the way, are on the Women's Community Facebook page. So if you're not on that already, I don't know how you found about the session tonight, but please get on it. I don't know if you noticed, I looked a little distracted before. I was just working out how to take a screenshot so that I could take a screenshot and then share this on my own socials to reach out to more women. So please, if you're there, take a screenshot and share it amongst anyone who might want to get involved, because we are really passionate about getting women in particular involved and to do that. So we've got the trading rides, wine and cheese nights. There's going to be a training camp, which Katie will tell you more about. And just in general, we're here to talk to you. And please reach out to us in any forum. Our goal is to get you guys to sign up and to get you over the line. So please, whatever you need from us, please ask. And I think with that, me waffling on a little bit, sorry about that, I'm going to hand it over to the next speaker, who is, I haven't got my front sheet on me, I'm so sorry. Is it Katie or Shell?
It's me. I had to check, so I was just looking at the agenda on my phone there. Had to take it off mute. You'd think I'd be used to this after 6 months of working from home, but obviously still adjusting.
I know,
hi.
me too. I was on time.
Hello, everybody. So good to have you on. I don't know how many we've got, but I think we had around 190 that had registered for tonight. Was that right, Fee?
Just over 100 that registered.
Over 100, wow. Well, I think that's still pretty impressive. So looking forward to sort of many more nights like these. And like Ali said, it'd be nice if at some point in the future we can actually get together in person. So I'm just going to go through a bit of detail on training and preparation, a bit of information on the camp, which the guys have locked in for February, which will be a really, really good weekend away. But I might start, I guess, with the training aspect. I was just thinking about it then. We're still quite a long way out. So we're still over 5 months out from the actual event. So I guess what I want to, caution you guys around at the moment is not to get excited about the event, but not to think that you need to be clocking up lots of kilometres on the bike at the moment, especially for those that are in Melbourne. It's pretty tough going at the moment, and I don't want anyone to be thinking that because we're only limited to riding 2 hours a day that that's not going to be enough. We've got enough time. So hopefully things will get a little bit better there in terms of restrictions, but I'm still, very optimistic that we've got plenty of time to prepare for this. When I say you don't need to be clocking up too many kilometres on the bike, I sort of think at the moment, if you're looking at 3 to 4 rides a week, that's probably going to be okay for now. And that's really all you need to be thinking about probably for, up until the end of October. And then November, you'd probably be starting to look at, more rides and longer duration. The other thing too to bear in mind with that, it doesn't have to be on your road bike. So I'm not sure within the community how many mountain bikers we've got, for example, on the call, or I know that gravel is really, really popular at the moment. I know Shell bought a gravel bike, I think, was it earlier this year, Shell, and has been having a lot of fun on that. So with those, when I'm saying sort of 3 to 4 rides a week at the moment, that certainly doesn't have to be restricted to the road bike. And if you are outside of Melbourne and you do have the luxury to be going, mountain biking or gravel, pushing the bike through a few hills on some gravel rides, certainly that it all counts. So think about it in terms of time on bike versus time on road bike. I'm just going to disappear into another room. Actually, excuse me. I'm just going to get my partner to go into another room.
While Kate does that, I just scrolled through the names and it looks like lots of you have been coming to the Zwift rides, which is awesome. But we did, I don't know if Kate can hear us again, but we did talk about the possibility of doing a training ride on the gravel bikes, just to do a little bit of, because it's fun, really. But it is really good training as well. And people were really keen on that option. So that's something we might look at incorporating this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually don't come from a road biking background. I come from a mountain biking background. So it's just about time on bike at the moment, guys. So it doesn't matter what the two-wheeled machine is. It's just time on bike. And the other thing too is I find that the more diversity I've got within time on bike, I tend to enjoy it a lot more. So there's days where I feel like I've done too much time on the road bike and I'm really itching to get on the mountain bike. So take advantage of whatever, ride options you've got. And like I said before, I'd start to be ramping up mid-November would be a good time to start ramping up both the number of rides that you're doing in the week and also the duration of the rides as well. And certainly aiming for a longer ride on the weekend as well. The training camp, so that's something to put in the calendars. And if you go to the Bicycle Network Facebook page, and I believe it's also on the Women's Community Facebook page as well, the dates for that are the 5th to the 7th of February next year. So I think it starts on the Friday. I think check-ins around sort of lunchtime on the Friday. So if you are coming up from Melbourne or potentially coming from interstate, it's not too early a start. And then there's structured rides that are set in place for each of those 3 days. And it's not just about the riding, so there'll be plenty of opportunity to meet other people. There's also some specific women's information sessions as well and get-togethers. So it's quite a bit that's thrown into that weekend. At the moment, we have Ali, who is attending, and also Stephen Lane. So some of you may have heard of Stephen Lane, and I also want to talk about him as well, but I will get to him in a minute. The camp is around, I think it's just coming in at just under $900 for
$849. Okay.
$849. Okay, so and that includes everything. So that's twin share accommodation. It's also your meals are covered as well, and they are splitting up. So female only accommodation and male only accommodation as well. If you don't have a buddy to travel up there with, Bicycle Network will actually be allocating people to rooms. So for instance, if you're after a female friend to spend the weekend with, then Bicycle Network would allocate you to a room with that individual. So don't feel like you need to actually find someone to pair up with to attend the weekend. I just talked about Stephen Lane. So we're very, very fortunate to have access to Stephen Lane. So I think he's got a PhD in biomechanics. He's also raced at an elite level within the Australian road racing circuit. He's a fully qualified coach, and he's quite phenomenal in a lot of respects when it comes to cycling. So we've had access to him now, I think, sort of coming up to 3 or 4 years, and he will actually put in place a training program through Bicycle Network that everybody will have access to. So that will give you guys very specific, I guess, instruction and guidance right from, I think we tend to start around sort of 12 to 13 weeks out, I think Fee and Carlia. So you guys will have a very sort of structured program and guide that can set you up for peaks. And that will be, he'll set it up such that if you have a goal of achieving and competing the event within the 13 hours, or if you might have a goal to have a crack at under 10 hours, for example, he will have specific programs around each of those time goals as well. So I would encourage everyone to take advantage of that, and there will be more information available on that through the Facebook pages. I've talked about Steve, and I've talked about not getting excited about the event, but not getting too excited about training at the moment. I think that's important. And I've talked about diversity in training. So like I said, it doesn't matter what your two-wheeled machine is, whether it's road, gravel, mountain bike, CX, whatever it might be. You know, don't be shy to take advantage of everything you've got access to with ride disciplines. That's probably all I wanted to cover off. Now, I can see there's some questions that are popping up in the chat. I don't know if any of those relate to me, Carlia or Fee, or...
Yeah, it's great. I can really see those questions. Yeah, the questions have been coming through, so thank you everybody. Keep them coming. Hey, there was just one question, and somebody was wanting to know, in October you meant 4 times per week, but can you give an indication as to kilometres they should be covering and what kind of terrain?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I would be thinking that with at least 3 out of those 4 rides, so if you think about one of those 4 rides being a recovery role, and so that might be, you know, on your trainer, it could be outside and on fairly flat terrain. So when you think about a recovery role, it should just be that. It's not about pushing heart rate too high, it's just really about spinning legs. So if you think about one of those 3 rides being recovery, I would be aiming to get some vert into those other, the remaining 3 or the remaining 2, whatever it might be. And I would be probably looking to max out in October. I think you'd want to have capability in October that if you are doing the 235 kilometres to be able to ride 100 kilometres in October. So if you can comfortably ride 100 kilometres, and if you had, I would think, in excess of 1,000 to say 1,200 metres of vertical within that 100 kilometres, I would think that you're starting to set yourself up really, really well for nailing the 235k with peaks. If it is the 100, and I know we had around sort of 7% of people on this call tonight are interested in the 100, I'd be reducing that by you're probably looking at say 50 to 60 kilometres, that if you can comfortably do that in October, and similarly halving the amount of vert. So if you were say 500 to 600 metres of vert, then I would say you're in a very good position for the 100 kilometres come March. Yeah, so I'd say 100 kilometres if you're comfortably doing that, and then what you're doing is you're working up from that when you hit November. Just going to scroll down to see if there's anything else, Fee. There's a question about the camp here. I'm vegan. Will that still work for the camp and food be included? So Fee, you've said that
Yep.
will be covered. So
Absolutely, that's all covered, dietary requirements. There's just one more question. Thank you, Emily. In the training program online, is the beginners one suitable for the 235 kilometres?
I haven't laid eyes on that.
Can answer that one. Yes, it is. So it is based, the training programs online are all based on the 235 kilometres. Obviously, if you're going for the 100 Ks, you might be able to shorten that a bit, but all the programs are made for the 235.
Excellent.
Yeah. I might just add one thing, Fee, that just came to mind. Don't think that you have to be, even when you get a bit closer to the event, don't think that you have to be going out every single weekend and doing 235 kilometres and 4,500 metres of vertical climbing. I do 24-hour mountain bike racing, and I quite often get asked what the longest ride I would do to prepare for that. And people will say, do you go out and do a 24 in the lead up? And no, I don't, because if I was to do that, I would, the impact of that is too severe. So it takes you too long to recover from those extreme events, and then you aren't in a position to build fitness. This is no different to that. So the longest ride, for example, that I'm doing for 24 hours would be usually on a weekend, would be 6 to 7 hours on the bike. So if you put that into perspective for peaks, you certainly want to know that you can go the distance and you can do the vertical, but you don't need to be pumping out those kilometres. You know, certainly in the weeks prior to the event, you will have wanted to have probably done one event that's around that 180, 190, 200 kilometre mark with around 4,000 of vert. If you can do that, then you're ready to go.
That's brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Kate. Just one last question. I think this is a really interesting one. We have a rider that lives in a flat area. What should she do with her training and get some hill climbing in? What's she to do?
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. Every year I come across contingents of people that have come across from Perth, and I think Shell and Ali, you're probably the same. And I'm fascinated from about where people come from to do this event. And the Perth crew, they don't have a lot of vert, you know, and they'll be the first to admit that. But they make the most of what they do have. So, do we know where this individual's from? When they say they don't have a lot of vert, have they got any vert?
It comes from Jen Williams, and yeah, she says very flat area.
Okay. Okay.
Altona. She lives in Altona.
Oh yes. Okay. Righto. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one. So I think if you've got a mountain bike, Jen, or you've got a gravel bike, you're not too far from You Yangs. I know that means getting in the car and driving out there, but there is some good vertical out there. I think I would be taking advantage if you do have Swift of Swift. I don't have Swift myself, but I know that you can obviously get a lot of vert through that mechanism. And then probably the other thing is you will have to in your calendar be probably quite structured and organised if you can, and I understand it's not always possible with kids and other commitments, but probably putting away some days where you actually get in the car and get across to the Dandenongs or out to Mount Macedon. Shell and Fats run a brilliant ride as part of the training out at Mount Macedon, and you clock up quite a bit of vert within not many kilometres. I can't remember what the stats are, Shell, but I think it's oh gosh, it's
I think it's under 80 Ks and about 1,800 vert maybe, because you do Mount Macedon from each side a couple of times, and then there's some rollers in between. Mount Macedon's very accessible from the west. That's where we often go to.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I'd be sorry.
No, go. I was just saying, Jen's just said that she does have Swift, and so that's great because you can obviously do the climbing, but also don't underestimate just time on the bike as well. I know, don't feel like it's all about climbing hills. One thing I do to prepare myself is I do a couple of long flats. I live in St Kilda, so Sorrento rides. I might go up over Arthur's Seat, but just that time in the saddle is as important as doing those hills. So sometimes don't discount being in a flat. You know, it's sometimes nice not to kill yourself, but to do those longer rides, and not even to do them at pace. So I think that that's really important as well.
And the other thing as well, Ali, is I know what Jen's talking about because I'm just down the road in Yarraville, but we have a couple of really steep suburban hills in Footscray. So like get out there and do, you know, 60 minutes on doing some repeats on Farnsworth Road or Edgewater Boulevard, and you will soon be clocking up the vert. So you can get a bit creative as well, and that's just down the road.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, don't discount long flat rides. They're actually a really good part of your training as well.
Yep.
See a questions come up there on descending. That's a good one, actually. I just wonder whether, Fee, you wanted to talk to that in a bit more detail, but that's something that we've actually been thinking about a fair bit over the last couple of months, and whether we, how we address that, because it's not unusual. And I think especially one of the intimidating parts of peaks is that you are descending with a lot of other people, and quite often that can be that can be intimidating. I think what I have found, and I think I'll probably get the girls to speak to this as well, but everyone is, like when you descend initially off the back of falls, everyone's fresh. And so if you think about, you know, for instance, it'd be a different story if you had a few thousand people that were descending something like that fatigued, but everyone's fresh, and everyone has the common objective to get down the hill safely. And what I've found with my experience is that everyone's very focused on that. So the other thing to bear in mind is that you do have both sides of the road, because it is closed. So you're not restricted in the same way that you would be normally with cars. But a lot of it, again, it's really about it's about weight distribution, and it's one of those things. I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you get doing it. If you've got access to someone that you know is a good descender, and it doesn't matter whether they're male or female, and one of the girls that we ride with, Preeta, is probably, I would think, one of the best descenders that I've ever been behind, but it's being able to sit behind someone that you have confidence in, and following their wheel, and getting comfortable with the lines that they take, and really replicating those lines. And the best time to do that is probably just doing it as a pair with someone that you really trust, and the more time you spend on that wheel, the better you will get at it. The other thing with descending too is, and this is not just descending, but also on a flat road, is being careful of the white paint. And I say this every year because quite often when you are descending falls first thing in the morning, it can be a little bit damp, and I would just encourage everybody to stay well clear of the paint, because it's slippery. So try and get access to someone who's a good descender, do some work with them, and then on the day, just be mindful that everyone's got the same objective, everyone's fresh, and stay off the paint. They would probably be my tips.
Yeah, I think with descending too, I think you get kind of quite, I know even when I started, I was really kind of nervous about descending, but I think the key thing for me is just go back to those basics. You know, really, someone's just posted a good YouTube. There are some good, you know, things to do. Watch them and then go and practice that. And I mean, the number one key thing is the more tense you are, the worse you're going to descend. You know, just take. It's like the ad on TV, wipe off 5. You know, wipe off the speed. You don't need to be a rocket down the hills. You're going to make it up the hills. You know, it's not the be all and end all to be super fast. It's better to be down there safer, as Kate says. And just go back to basics and practice something each time you're descending. If you do have a person who's better at descending, that's an excellent tip. And you know, for people who are around and can attend training rides, hopefully we'll be doing those in person at some stage. Please come along and ask. You know, that's absolutely key. I know I've taken a few people, you know, down. I wouldn't call myself a super duper, you know, can descend, but you know, and taking them down and just a tip or two, it's like, oh, thank you. You know, you just get that confidence slowly, but really take it back to basics. We don't need to be super fast down, because that's, you know, obviously the bit where you're just not going to make up most of the time anyway. So just, you know, try and relax and just learn slowly.
And the other thing too, I think, and I've had issues with this if I've been really cold on a descent, and if you get cold, then you can shake, and it's amazing the impact that will have on bike control. So if you do know you're going out for a ride, especially at the moment when the weather's still a bit iffy in the southern states, is to rug up on the descent. So you might have got to the top of the descent, you'd be feeling quite warm, quite comfortable, but you get cold when you go down hills. So I would be rugging up and thinking about that sort of, you know, that bike control and that locking in through core and bike stability is a big factor.
And I'll just jump in as well, Kate. The good news is we are, when restrictions do lift in Melbourne, we will be looking at hosting a descending training ride. But yeah, stay tuned with all of the details for that. We'll upload it all on our Women's Community Facebook page. So yeah, that will be great. We are looking at hosting 1 or 2 sessions. So if it's okay with you, Kate, we will move on to Shell Hyde, that will be talking about the on-event experience. But yeah, we can still keep on answering everybody's questions if they have any more in regards to training or anything else. So just keep that chat function going and type away with your questions. Thanks, Shell.
Thanks, Fee. So hi, everybody. My name's Shell. This will be my 5th Peaks Challenge, the 4th time with Team Bicycle Network. I'd done it once before. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the actual experience is on the weekend. You, like Carlia said, when you cross that finish line, it's addictive. You might say straight after, I won't do that again. And then a week later, you'll be thinking about the next year. So that's just something to have in your mind always. You've got that finish line feeling. And if you do finish, you know, with an hour to spare or 30 minutes to spare, if you're not too cold, it is so amazing to just stand at the finish line and cheer people through, especially people who are crossing the line in sort of, you know, 12 hours, 50 minutes to 13 hours. They just, you know what they've been through, and there's nothing like that feeling. So definitely recommend that. The actual weekend, the event is, of course, amazing, but it's such a great weekend to be up on Falls. The atmosphere up there is just excellent. And if you've been to some of our training rides, the real life ones or the Zwift ones, you'll know some people already. You sort of just wander around on the Saturday saying g'day to everybody that you've sort of met along the way. I always have to work on Friday, but I still think it's so worth driving up to Falls after work on Friday if you can, because it just means that you've got the whole day Saturday to, you know, there's quite a lot of sort of things that you have to do on the Saturday. You've got to get your bike checked. You might need to do your valet bags. If you're a Bicycle Network member, you can come to one of our information sessions. But you also, you want to be able to check out the event village. So if you can get there on Friday night, it just gives you that whole day Saturday. You can go for a little spin, get the legs activated and working. We also, I'd say you probably only want to go for a 30-minute to 60-minute ride on that day. And again, you'll just be chatting more than riding. You'll meet everybody out on the road down towards Trapyard Gap. The night before, you will want to make sure that your bike's all ready to go. just have a bit of an idea in your mind about the day, what the things that you'll need to do to feel prepared and feel ready. So, you know, you'll need to have all your devices charged. You'll need to put your timing chip onto your bike. You want to, you know, do a little spin and make sure everything's working as it should be after you've done your commute from Melbourne, if that's where you're coming from. We do another one of these information sessions in real life on the Saturday. So there are, like, if you are hoping to finish in, say, 11 hours, Kate and the 11-hour team do a specific briefing for anybody who's interested in finishing in that time. And then the wave leaders can answer your questions. Ali and her team do one for 10 hours. I do one for the 12-hour group with my team. And then we also do a specific women's information session. And that is where you can ask any last-minute questions. We often get questions about, what are you going to wear tomorrow? Because, you know, by then we'll sort of have an idea about the forecast, although it did catch all of us out last year because it didn't do what it said it was going to. It really was wet and rainy. So probably one thing, you know, without getting into it too heavily at this point, because I'm sure we'll do another one of these down the track, you do want to have a way to carry on you thicker gloves. Poor Fee, I had to take her gloves last year at the lunch stop because I had sort of long gloves, but they were little thin ones and it was just so cold. So you want to be able to keep your longer gloves with you. You want a good jacket, waterproof if possible. And you might also want to, you know, have space to carry your food. So I've been saying to people, one of the best things I did last year for the first time was had a little frame bag on my bike, because it just meant that I could have all that stuff really accessible and I didn't have to stress about trying to jam it all into my pockets. So there's loads of options for, you know, on bike systems to carry things, and it just makes you feel really free because you don't have things bunched up in your jersey pockets. On the day, I would say definitely wake up with plenty of time. You don't want to be rushing around on the morning of the ride. You want to be able to have a nice breakfast, you have your coffee, you need to get down to the start line. The first time I did it, I made the mistake of getting down to the start line really late. And it did, for me, I just felt a little bit unsettled because you have to stand off the road. So it's really good if you can get down there with a bit of time. You also, Kate said about the descending. One of the things that was new last year and hopefully will happen again this year is there was a donation station in Mount Beauty. Is that happening again, Kalia?
We plan on it, yes.
Yeah, so it means that you can wear, you know, not anything too shabby because it is being given to charity, but a bit like when you do a marathon, you wear something really cozy and warm on the descent, and when you get to Mount Beauty, you can strip your top layer off and it goes to charity. So that was the best thing last year because it just means that first descent that is cold, you get down to Mount Beauty feeling, you know, not absolutely frozen. And just on what Kate was saying, probably the last thing I can say is the first descent is definitely not as scary as you think it's going to be. If you just hold your line and stay to the left if you're a little bit more cautious, call out to people. Like, it's really good if you can communicate clearly. If you're going to pass somebody, just say, you know, passing on your right. But it definitely feels a lot more flowy than you think it would be if you're looking at it from outside. So that's not one of the parts of the ride that I think is a really scary one. Once you've done it, you'll see that it's definitely not as scary as you think it might be. Did you want to, go on to the questions, Fee?
That's brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing that, Shell. Thank you. So we'll just open it up now. Again, just type any questions that you may have in the chat function before we end our session. So if anybody's got anything there, please fire away. Katerina has asked in regards to the 13-hour cap. So of course, Peaks Challenge, there is the time limit. You do need to complete that in 13 hours. And Katerina is wanting to know, is it better to start with the 12-hour wave or the 11-hour wave for a buffer?
I think the 11-hour. But I'm actually really curious to see what Shell and Ali think. But I'd go the 11 because if it works out that you're not maintaining 11-hour pace, which is absolutely fine. I mean, God, to just finish this thing is such a mammoth effort. So you've got backup because you know that the 12-hour group are behind, and they can pick you up. So you might find that, for instance, you start with the 11-hour, you're feeling good, you're having a cracking day, and you may stay with the 11-hour bunch. So I think don't underestimate what you ladies are capable of. So I'd be starting with the 11-hour bunch. If you, for instance, 5 hours in, that you find you're not keeping pace with them, that's okay. You may actually finish half an hour ahead of the 12-hour group, for example. So I would personally, I would go with the 11-hour. But Shell and Ali, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just say go with what you're comfortable with as well. I mean, you will, depending on, how you train, you'll probably get a reasonable feeling for where you'd like to sit. And I think at the end of the day, if you feel like you'll be saying, should have gone with the 11-hour group and I'll be ahead, do that. Go with your gut feel. But also, it's your time. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying this, it's your actual time. So it doesn't matter where you start. Your 13 hours is 13 hours. So don't feel like you'll get an extra 5 minutes or something by starting 5 minutes earlier. But if you feel like you could ride at an 11-hour pace and you prefer to do that and then drop back through, do that. But it really is all about comfort too. And you might meet some friends on the journey who are doing it too, and you might want to start together. I see the second question came, do you need to ride in groups? No, that's the whole thing. The wave leaders, I guess we'll explain, we're just there to keep you on a track, and we'll ride at a particular pace. We'll publish that. So being in the 10-hour group, there's 10-hour pacing along the way, and we'll hit those targets, as will the 11 and 12. But everyone will get split up during the day. So don't feel like you need to hang with people or anything like that. You'll naturally concertina out, and some people ride quicker up hills, some people ride quicker on the flat. We're all built differently. We all ride differently. But the most amazing thing is there's so many people on the course out there encouraging people, and the people just talk to people and feed off people. So I think just to answer that, go with what you're comfortable with. If you feel like you're missing out because you might be going in 12 but could do 11, go with 11, I say. How about you, Shell?
I think that's really good advice. I mean, even if you start with the 12-hour group, we tend to stop at every stop. And so you might decide, out of the 7 stops, you are just going to stop at 4 of them or 5 of them. So you're going to make up a bit of time there because we stop at every one. There was another question about, does it tend to stay as bunches in between the climbs? There definitely will be bunches that form in between the climbs. And it is a really great idea if you're comfortable riding in a bunch and with a group of other cyclists. It's a really great idea to look for a bunch to ride with, because you do save, on the energy there, and you also do get the benefit of the drafting. You don't need to feel like you have to do rolling turns. If you aren't comfortable doing that, you can just sit on the back of the bunch. There'll be enough other people working, and just say, if somebody waves you through, just say, oh, no, I'd prefer not to. Nobody's going to shout at you. It's not a race. No. So that is what I would do. I didn't do that the first year I did Peaks. I got I rode it on my own, the bit from the bottom of the Toowoomba Gap descent to the start of the Hotham climb. What I would do now that I know, is maybe just sit up and wait for a group to come through and jump onto the back of it, because you really do expend a lot of energy slogging it out on your own solo for that bit. So yeah, definitely try to find yourself a group if you feel comfortable.
Thanks, Shell. We do have a question in regards to the 100-kilometre ride option. It is from Carol Cook. And Carol, I did hear a rumour that you were thinking about doing this ride option. And of course, I'm very excited. Carol Cook is our gold medalist Olympian. So I'm thrilled to hear that you're thinking about doing this ride. But Carol, Carlia, this one's for you. Is keen to know, is there a cut-off time with doing the 100-kilometre ride option?
No, there's not a cut-off time per se. What we're doing is, if you finish in under 6 hours, you'll receive a finisher's t-shirt similar to the finisher's jersey for the finishing under 13 hours. However, if you do fall behind the 2:35 13 hours, which I'm sure no one will do here, we will be cutting you off with the 2:35, but you do have a bit of time to complete that 100k ride.
Thank you. Sarah and Hannah asked, does the training ride in February sell out early? Great question. This is the first time that we've introduced it, which is really exciting. It's such a great concept, and yeah, we have kicked off with our sales, so they have been trickling in. But yeah, there still most certainly is availability for the February training camp. So just taking any more last questions before we finish up, if you just type them into the chat function. Ladies, wave leaders, Carlia, are there any last things that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I think we might have missed a question. Rebecca just said, what pace would I be aiming for the 10, 11 or 12 hour groups? I don't think we haven't addressed that one yet.
Far away.
Yeah, so I just always think about it in terms of if it's 10 hours, we've got to cover 235 Ks. So I go, well, 23.5 kilometres an hour. And that's not factoring. Yeah, so that's factoring in total time. So you may be moving, a bit quicker than that and taking rests. And then with the either side of that, so if you're going the 11 or the 9 hour pace, then you're either just increasing or decreasing just slightly. So with the 11 hour group, we tend to sit around sort of 22 kilometres an hour as a bit of a ballpark. And what's really good with the training rides is that you'll get a real feel for the pace that you're comfortable sitting on, and that should start to give you a bit of a feel for perhaps where you position yourself or which wave you go in on the day.
Beck does ask about, with the 100-kilometre route, is a hybrid okay? We would highly recommend a road bike. Carly, you have some information on this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So thanks for asking that. So yeah, we do recommend a road bike for this, but if you are comfortable. But one of the main things we are recommending for the 100k is to have disc brakes if possible. There is quite a steep descent down the back falls, as I was telling you guys about, quite a steep going up, but what goes up must come down. So we do recommend having disc brakes on your bike if possible.
And just wrapping up now, but we do have a few questions in regards to training rides in other states. So yeah, they have been previously been taking place in Victoria and Melbourne, but of course everyone can jump online and take part in the Swift rides. But yeah, we are always looking at trying to introduce training rides in the other states, but if that does happen, please stay tuned. We will post that all on Facebook. As soon as we have any information on that, we'll let you know. All right then, well, thank you everyone for jumping on board and being a part of our information session. Like I did mention, please jump onto our Facebook page. So it's the Bicycle Network Women's Community Facebook page, and follow us on there. It's a great hub to use to really connect with other like-minded women, to ask any further questions that you may have about Peaks Challenge, with training, to find out about our training Zwift rides, etc. So it's really well worth jumping on there, and also use the event website as well. It's a great resource there. We've got all of our information on there. We do have our registrations, of course, that have now opened, and the great news is that early bird is running until the 29th of November, so there's still time to enter. We have been absolutely going crazy with people registering since we launched with our campaign. We're actually sitting at over 700 riders, which is just incredible. So if you are wanting to register, to let you know also, at this stage you can put down a deposit as well of $50, and then you can pay the final payment balance later on in the piece. But really great to have you all on board as part of the session. Thank you so much, and please reach out to us on Facebook if we can answer any questions. And also tomorrow, just as a bit of a follow-up, I will send an email out to you all, and I'll give you my personal details so you can reach out to me directly if there's anything that I can do to help or to answer your questions. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye.